go. Hello. Just let everybody jump on live here. And tonight we're going to talk about the Nrha Futurity and kind of a recap, some of the predictions that were made, some questions about the Futurity itself, and what the Futurity kind of represents to Rainers and the Nrha. So some of these questions have been sent in by you guys. I've got a little list going here. If you have a comment as we go along, please feel free to contribute. Let us know when you're here. Let us know who you thought was going to win and what you thought of the Futurity, I guess. If you're new, then welcome. My name is Lindsay. This is Jess. We're here every Tuesday at 7:30 answering questions that were sent in by you guys. If you have a question or a topic that you would like to submit, then you can send that in to us at hayescofelph@gmail.com. If you want to try to catch the replay, the best thing to do is to sign up for our email list, and you can do that if you're finding us on Facebook by hitting the sign up button on our cover page. If you're finding us on Instagram, you can find it in the link in our bio. And if you have a hard time trying to find it somewhere, just shoot me a message and I will help you to get on that. Once you're on that email list, every Tuesday you will get the replay delivered right to your inbox and a heads up about the topic that we're talking about that night, and an opportunity to contribute, to write in your questions or topics or whatever. You get a chance to see some of the things that are in the tack shop and what we are up to next. Okay, it looks like a few people are able to hear us now, so that's super. Hi, everybody. So we're going to talk about the Nrha Futurity. Before we do that, the shout out for tonight goes to Vanessa Henry. Vanessa has been a client of ours for a long time and a friend of mine for a long time, and she is a Momentum member. She just recently purchased a horse from us. She purchased her first reining horse from us, and she listens to us or watches us while she is charting, while she's doing her work. So I wanted to shout out to Vanessa, next time you're charting and you're listening to us, thanks for watching and for sending in your questions and just supporting us in all of those ways. It's awesome.
I think we should do a big shout out to Wayne Dobinson and Don Pletch for helping me do stalls this week.
Okay, let's also do that. So at the moment, we're actually sitting in one of the stalls that you're talking about. I haven't posted. Oh, I know I showed some of the Momentum members. I did like a little tour of what's going on, but I haven't shared it with everybody yet. We are installing 3 more stalls, replacing 3 of our temporary stalls with 3 permanent stalls. You can see one of the partitions behind us. And yeah, huge thanks to Don Pletch and Wayne Dobinson for coming and helping out, cutting wood and moral support. And I heard you guys solved some world problems, and also that they gave you a hard time about your manicure.
I think we solved a lot of world problems.
Did you? Do you want to share your manicure? Do you have very much of it left?
It's getting off now.
Our kids painted our fingernails.
And our fingers.
Sunday, fingers and toes. Yep.
The whole finger, not just the fingernail.
Yeah, they're very. Maddie tonight was saying they're very festive. She was saying they're very festive. I thought it was funny too last night when I was going through saddle options and I'm pointing out Bob's Custom saddle options with these kind of wild and crazy fingernails. Anyways, let's get to the topic for tonight. So who won the bet? You and I bet.
Neither one of
us won. No, we're both losers. So there we go. Paul Reed predicted that Schmersel would win it on Surprise Ya. Joni predicted Sean, or I think she said Sean or Luca, but it could have been Sean and Luca, maybe Luca for the non-pro. Sally predicted Casey Deary on Gonna Be Flintastic. Aaron predicted Fapani or Brian Bell. And then you predicted
I got second place horse. That's it. I didn't win.
Yeah, what
By
was
half
that?
a
What
point.
was that horse's name? Why can't I think of its name now?
I forget, was it Inferno out of Winder Up Chick?
Winding Inferno?
Is that what?
I don't know. Anyways, and I had Alpha Jack Sparrow, and we both, neither of us won.
Neither one of them
So
won
if
it.
anybody predicted it, cheers to you. You win all the glory. Some of the questions and things that people have talked about. So if you don't know what the Futurity is, the Futurity is for 3-year-olds. We talked about this last week, but the Futurity is for 3-year-olds. It is a big purse. It's $350,000 for the Open champion. It's $60,000 for the non-pro champion. It's a big purse. It's one of, if not the most exciting event in reining. And not only is it an exciting horse show, you know, like just as horse shows are for, you know, who wins it, what rider, what horse, what owner, that kind of stuff. It also has become kind of a predictor and an indicator of the way that the industry and the way that the association is going to be scoring and judging and run, and what people are looking for, what horses are popular, all kinds of things. It's a really influential event. So some of the questions that we've had about the recap of the Futurity have not just been about what horses did well or what riders did well. They've been about trends and things that people noticed while watching. So we're going to get to that. One of the questions was, what's with the banding? Do you want to answer that? What's with the banding?
One person started it, and everybody followed suit.
What is it? In case
It's a
somebody
trend.
is like, what are you talking about?
Okay, so Rainer is famous for their long manes. Downside of long manes, when you roll back and you turn around and you do stuff, mane will get wrapped up in your rein something fierce. You run a band, what would it be? Every quarter of an inch? Every quarter of an inch up, you run one band. Makes a horse look like they have a really good top line too. If a
So
horse
it's
is
like what pleasure people do. It's like pleasure banding, but on a reiner with a big long mane.
and they leave the long manes.
Yep.
But it really shows off if a horse is really steady with their top line and very consistent across that neck. It really shows off that horse quite well, and it just keeps that hair out of the manes a lot.
Yeah, so most of them were doing it. So the reason why somebody's saying what's with the banding is because almost every single finalist had bands this year, white bands in dark manes, so it was really noticeable. So what were you saying about it? Why all the banding?
It just keeps things neater and tidier too. You know, lots of times if you have a big long mane, you stop your horse at center, or you stop them from spinning. You got, you know, half the mane on each side, and then you're sitting there trying to sort it out before you go on. Keeps it tidy. Just looks a little cleaner, you know. And once a few people started doing it and realized that, hey, there's some benefit and a look to it, then of course, like all horse show things, everybody kind of jumps on it and goes with it. But it just makes that top line look a little smoother and keeps things looking a little prettier.
All right. Another one of the questions, and if you guys have questions as we go along, please just go ahead and drop them. If you have questions about banding or questions about anything from the Futurity. Was the judging fair? Did you feel that the judging was fair?
Oh yeah, you can't. I mean, the thing with the NRHA, they have likely the best judging system. They started it years ago, judging each maneuver as an individual instead of as a whole run. Makes it as fair as possible. You have your high and low scores. 5 judges, high and lows are kicked out. You know, anytime somebody says I wasn't judged well at a 5-event deal, they didn't do well. It's as fair as they're gonna get. The judges are grilled before every drag. If there's any discrepancies, I mean, they keep everybody as sharp as can be. It's a great system. A lot of times if people watch it and say, you know, oh, I thought that horse should have been higher, that horse should have been lower, the thing you have to remember is the judges are staring at that horse. They are not missing anything. In the stands, when people are watching, they'll watch part of it, turn around to their buddy, talk for a little bit. Horse fell at a lead, or the horse did something bionic, whichever way it went. And they kind of miss the whole flow of the run. With your high and lows being kicked out, there was a few times there would be a point difference over the horses. But I mean, 1 point, the difference of 5 different angles in the arena, 1 point is nothing. I mean, it was good judged. It was a fun thing to watch.
What was your favorite horse? You predicted Winding Inferno was going to win it. Was that your favorite horse?
I think so. I really like his mother.
So we didn't watch a ton of the other levels. We watched the level 4 finals, but we're kind of talking about the level 4 finals. Was your favorite horse, right?
Yeah. I think I'm impartial to the Winding Inferno horse just because the mother was so good, has produced so many good ones over different studs. And so I already have a little bit of a favoritism towards that a little bit. I thought Sean's horses looked really good. I mean, they always do, but I thought they even looked better than they have the last couple of years. I thought that was a kind of a step up there. And right across the board, I mean, even the 30th horse still looked good, just had some bobbles. There wasn't any horse that didn't look nice, just had some bobbles in a run, and it was a good futurity for that. What'd you think? Who was your favorite?
Well, I predicted Alpha Jack Sparrow. I thought that horse had what it took to win it. I like the Winding Inferno horse. I really liked Dan Huss's horse. I guess not owned by him, but I really liked that horse. If I was going to go jump on one and go ride, I would really love to go ride that one. I really liked the one that Jesse Beckley was riding, who won the level 3. I thought that was a really cool horse.
I think we should shout him out too, being a Canadian. What did he end up?
Yeah, we should. We shouted him out last week, but we didn't shout him out tonight. Well, and we didn't shout out. We didn't shout out the champion or anything tonight.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, yeah, let's shout out Jesse Beckley because that was really cool. It was fun. That was fun.
And I think
from
it
a
was
Canadian perspective.
Was it the first time he made the 4 finals?
Yes.
I think that was it. And then
Yeah.
and he ended up 5th, and then won the level 3.
Won the level 3 and the level 2, right?
Did he?
I think so.
So I mean, that's a huge
cool.
deal for him, and
Yeah.
that was pretty cool for a Canadian living on Canadian soil. And what was his horse? Was it a Trasher?
Yes.
Kind of Trasher?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of nice horses. I really liked that one of Dan Huss's. I really liked the Alpha Jack Sparrow. I really liked the Winding Inferno. I mean, it was a really nice group of horses. You really can't say you wouldn't want to jump on too many of those or any of them. They're all awfully nice horses. And I saw that Joy saying that she really enjoyed it. It was great, a bunch of healthy looking horses and great and not crazy rides.
I thought the only guy that got a little out there handled it, and he rode on the edge. What was his name?
Dakin? Yeah.
Dakin Elred or something?
Yeah.
Used to work for Bob Avila.
Avila, yeah. Yeah, he rode on the edge.
He rode on the edge. I'm not sure that thing couldn't have won the Kentucky Derby the way he was running it, but he held it together and he never moved his hand. I mean, so kudos to him. And another, I don't know the guy at all. I have no idea, but first time in the 4, and I don't know where he sits as far as showing in other fraternities, but I mean, held it together. That thing stopped and turned and did everything. I forget what he placed, but he was right up there. Won a whole pile of money. And
I liked Brandon Brandt's horse too. I didn't mention that one before. Really liked that horse, and it was fun watching him. It was fun watching him show. I like that Anybody on there want to share what your favorite horse was? Definitely let us know what you think your favorite horse was. Love hearing that. And also what one you think you'd like to ride, because sometimes picking the one that wins and picking the one that you'd want to ride might be different. I think that's kind of a neat way to look at it.
I think for anybody to not pick Dan Huss's horse is the one you'd want to follow and just go ride. I mean, that horse just looked so broken, so quiet, and so happy. He didn't win the deal, but I mean, it looks like anybody could ride that horse. And Dan always does a good job with the non-pro horses and making those horses very non-pro friendly.
It's going to be a non-pro horse next year. I saw him interviewed.
Oh, really? Yeah, I mean, to me, if you're going to pick one of those horses for a non-pro or somebody to follow up on, because some of them open horses are hard to follow, even from trainer to trainer. You know, they're just so tweaked on one person's way of doing it. It's hard for them horses to change programs. But I mean, Dan's just looked like, not to jinx whoever the non-pro is following it, and not to insult them, but it looks like a monkey could show that horse.
It looked like a very nice horse, yeah. Okay, the other question that we have to talk about is the NRHA headed in the right direction? So when we talk about the futurity and all of the weight that gets put on the futurity and all of what is examined about the futurity moving forward, the judging probably being the biggest thing, the judging in the way that the horses look and are treated being the biggest thing, what do you think about, and what do you guys think? Like, I'm asking Jesse here because he's beside me, but what do you guys think about that? And maybe you don't know. I know that in one of my lessons earlier today, we were talking about this, and the ladies were just saying that they didn't realize that there was this much to the futurity, that, the judges committee and everybody kind of gets together and talks about what are they scoring, what are they not scoring, because they want to award the right things at the futurity, because it's such a strong dictator of what people are going to try to replicate throughout the rest of the year. So do you feel like the NRHA is headed in the right direction? What did you feel in terms of that, the overall presentation and representation of reining at the futurity?
Well, just what we saw on TV, because
it's different not being there. Yeah.
But even
stalls.
The few horses that I saw in the go rounds, I mean, everything looked happy and friendly. Like,
Very
that part
healthy.
looks way
they did
better.
Look really healthy. Yeah, shiny,
that part is
fat,
definitely better,
sound.
and the judges have promoted that a lot. They have not rewarded the real intimidated looking horses and the bumping on their faces. So that part is better for it. The part that scares me a little bit with the way the NRHA is going is getting the horses so broke to show them that way so young. Everybody says the horses look, and they do look better. They are better. They're happier. They're whatever. But they're also more broke, and it scares me. It'd be awesome to go around and take, like, let's say the top 75 horses and look at their x-rays. I'd love to see that. I don't know if it would be better or worse than it was years ago. It's just a thought, but it is not I'm not bashing anybody. I'm not putting anybody up or down. I'm just saying it'd be interesting to see, because now they have to be so much more broke at a younger age, and dialed in.
So much repetitive exercise.
Yeah, and a lot of that is the breeding. A lot of that is the training. Breeding being a huge one. You don't see any of them kind of scattery, kind of brained horses anymore. They're a much more dialed in horse, but much more patterned horses, much like they've been worked on that little bit extra. It'll be interesting. I mean, the NRHA has went through different ideas a lot. I'm going to get the timelines wrong, but I mean, 25 years ago, it was about, or let's go back 40 years ago, it was kind of run them hard, and, they weren't as broke and their heads were out there. 25 years ago, they went into a thing where they slowed everything down and everything was to be so precise and picture perfect. And then they kind of got away from that just a little bit and said, okay, let's open these things up a little bit and run them. But then they got into some trouble with like jacking on their faces and bumping their bellies too much. So they're always kind of trying to steer the judges. And if you steer the judges, then you steer how the product looks. Perfect example, like they always bash on the pleasure horses for being so slow. If the judges stepped up and said, we're not going to buy this anymore, we're going to reward a different type of horse, the exhibitors will show it. We'll show whatever wins. I think it's going in a good direction. I don't know, excitement wise, I think a little bit, obviously the 4 guys, they run. Like the level 4 guys, they'll run them horses pretty hard, but I feel like it has slowed the sport down a little bit, which isn't a bad thing.
Slowed the speed down. Like they're
Yeah,
not
and the
running
patterns.
as fast. Yeah.
But that also takes away a little bit of the, I'm not gonna say the fun of it, but the appeal, like who can hold it together, like that Dake and Elrod. I mean, you watch that whole run, there's, well, I was gonna say 2.5 minutes. I don't think he did it in a minute and a half, but you know, but I mean, he never moved his hand. That was a high degree of difficulty. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. It's a little scary to me when there's so many horses that just look in the same mold. There's not maybe, like you take the cow horse Futurity, there's some that are a little higher headed, some that are a little lower headed, some that are a little more wiggly, some that are straight in there. I feel like the reiners, we've maybe kind of put everything into one mold, which is maybe a little concerning, but it's, at least you know what the mold, and the mold is a good product, so it's not a bad thing compared to like the 1990 pleasure horses where their head was right on the ground. At least it's a good look to have that mold to fit. So I think as a whole it works. You know, there's always debate about the Futurity as a whole as to whether that's a good thing. You know, I think all the horses in the finals, I don't think there was one that looked overly stressed or, you know, or just worn out leg wise. And
From what we could see on the live feed.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, and they've shown 3 times. So, I mean, obviously you have the, anybody that hasn't been there, I mean, they have multiple, when I say vets, I'm talking vets that pull in with full semis. You bring your horse right into the semis to get them looked over, x-rayed, MRI, like anything you need. They have
There's
saltwater
every therapeutic.
spas. They have
Yeah,
all them,
everything.
what are they, PMFs or
PMF, the saltwater spas, the
theraplates, everybody. Like,
yeah.
there's a lot that goes into those horses now. I think a lot of it too is it's competitive, plus there's a lot of money in those young horses. So because there's a lot of money, you know, you're going to take care of them. Not that there wasn't years ago, but nobody put as much weight into it. So there's a lot of work that goes on to them, just not the riding. You know, everybody can argue about the Futurities. The horses that are big, strong, mentally and physically, the Futurities aren't a bad thing at all. They're a great thing. Get them broke, get them showing, they're ready to go. The ones that shouldn't be there anyways, and that's just you're never going to change some of those people, but it is what it is. How about you?
I agree with you that I think they look healthy. I mean, they're shiny, they're fat, they're obviously groomed, their feet are done, they're dewormed, they got access to all of the therapeutic stuff that they possibly could, they're fit, they're, you know, I think overall as far as horse welfare that way, it was a good representation of reining. I agree with you where I feel like they do look very, very captured. They look very, very broke, and it's a very specific look. And this year and last year, I've thought to myself a few times, I actually enjoy watching some of the ranch riding and some of the cow horse finals, maybe more than the NRHA finals, because the horses are out there a little bit more. It's just a little bit more fun to watch. And that concerns me because I think if I'm thinking that way, then other people must feel that way, and especially people who don't understand reining. But I also know that, you know, when people make criticisms like, oh, their heads are too low or whatever, like, some horses just go that way, and that is how we've bred them. So how can we say that it's not natural when it is natural for them, and that's the way we've bred them? We've bred this very specific athlete, and I think that's where
it's a lot easier to show one that's mentally with you, and
Yeah.
I think that's where the NRHA stance on it is to have one that's maybe a little more machine mind, or I call it machine minded, very what do you want all the time, is definitely a lot easier to show than one that's maybe a little out there. So yeah,
Yeah. I think, so one of the things that I saw people were talking about online was how it's $2,700 to enter the non-pro and the payout is $60,000, and it's $2,700 to enter the open and the payout is $350,000. So what's wrong with this picture, basically? And there were people on both sides of it. There was people saying, you know, a few years ago it only paid out, the non-pro only paid out $30,000, so now it's paying out $60,000. It is improving. There's other people saying that's the way it should be, or sponsors want to put up money to the open, or, you know, whatever. I do think that seems to be a recurring theme amongst non-pro riders, where they don't like to see the purses being so different. But I also feel like a non-pro has the opportunity to enter the open. So just
And
enter
they've
the
done it
open.
before.
If you want to go for bigger money, go enter the open. Like,
yeah, they've done it before.
yeah.
Non-pros have went over into both sides, and very seldom. So they want to play in a smaller group for the same amount of money. And I understand the idea of I'm paying the same entry fee, but you have the option of where you want to go. You can either show in the restricted non-pros, or you can show against everybody. And making a check in the non-pro is a whole lot easier than making a check in the open. You know, the scores are way different, and the horses are way different, and it's I feel like at that point everybody wants to be catered to, and they want their, you know, the same as like, why don't the beginners make as much as the open riders? You know, you got to start, and I'm not allowed to go show in the beginners. So if you want to come play in the open, get your entry fees up.
Yeah. One other thing I want to talk about is the fact that, two other things actually. Hope I don't forget the second one. The first one is about the judging. And one of the concerns that I had watching the judging, I did think that the judging was fair in that I felt like everybody ended up in the right place. I did feel like, and we had this conversation earlier, I felt like it's disappointing to see if the Nrha Futurity, and I get why it has to be this way, but it's disappointing to see at the Nrha Futurity when the horses are so physical and doing so much, exerting so much effort, and they're not getting rewarded using the full extent of the scorecard, and they're not getting rewarded the same way that they would be at a smaller show. So I get why they're doing it. I get why, as a judge in the level 4 finals, you have to tighten up that zero. You don't want to end up with a bunch of ties. You don't want to end up, you know, where you use too much of your scorecard early on. But I also feel like when a horse is doing that much, you have to reward it. Like, if we're not utilizing the +1.5, why do we have it? And if a horse that at a smaller futurity is marking a 72, and at the Nrha Futurity they're coming out of the pen to 69, I don't really think that's right. I don't know what the solution is, but I just don't really think that's right. Does the scoring system need to be revamped? Do we need to have like a +2 and a -2? You know, what needs to happen so that we're using the full extent of the scorecard and the scores are consistent. You know, you want to know when you're showing this is a 0, this is a +1/2, this is a +1, this is a +1.5. Like, to see some of those horses go out there and do those massive maneuvers and not get rewarded for it, for, you know, little things that would be overlooked at other shows. I was disappointed a little bit in that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there is the problem with, like, at the little shows, it being easier. The other part that I think sometimes gets forgotten, the Futurity Finals is not the best reining. It's a 3-year-old event that they've already run twice. You know, them horses have been there for 2 weeks, and it's not going to be the best reining.
It's not going to be the biggest scores.
You start talking about putting that up against the Derby and the NRBC and the stuff like that, where them horses have matured mentally and physically. The trainers know them better. The Futurity is awesome to watch because you know it's 3-year-olds. You know that it's those young horses and which ones can handle it. And I mean, we've sat there and watched cow horse Futurities. Is it this weekend the cutting Futurities on?
I don't know.
I think it's this weekend. The 3-year-old Futurities are not the best reinings. They are exciting because they're young horses. So this is like the kids doing, you know, junior A hockey or whatever before the NHL. When them derbies come and you put those runs against each other, there is a difference.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good point.
Is there a difference in when you get scored at the weekend reining or the one-day reining somewhere compared to the Congress or the Oklahoma? Yes,
Something with
there
5 judges,
is.
yeah.
Do the judges sometimes maybe open up a little bit in the green reiner, and you know, some green reiners come out with 72s and think they can go in the open? Yeah, it happens. I mean, it is what it is. But the Futurity horses at that show, as a 3-year-old, to go do a +1.5 maneuver, I'm not saying there's hasn't. I mean, I can think of a couple come to mind that were bionic, like going to be a big star turning around. I mean, that thing was a freak. I mean, you know, there was some that are awesome, but then you see them come back later, and there's a better maneuver.
Yeah.
So your 1.5s have to be. Can you give it at the Futurity and then also give it at the Derby when it's a better run?
Yeah.
You know, I think that's something everybody forgets. Futurities aren't meant to be the best reinings. They're just the most exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Because it's the young horses. Who can hold it together? Who can do all that? All those 7 or 8 maneuvers, depending on which pattern it is. Which ones can get it done?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know the other thing I was going to say was that there was some talk about the NRHA changing the rules. We didn't talk about this beforehand. I'm going to surprise you with this. Maybe you've heard this already. There's some talk about the NRHA changing the rules so that riders can ride more horses. So right now it's limited where an open rider can only ride
3 horses.
3 horses. Yeah, and they're talking about opening that up. I don't know if they're just going to open it up entirely and have it unlimited, or if they're going to open up to 5, or, you know, I don't know what they're going to do, but there's some talk about that happening. And the reasoning behind that is that there are a number of trainers whose clients have had their horses in training for a year or 2 years or whatever, and a month before the Futurity, those trainers are trying to decide which ones they ride, which ones their apprentices ride, or which ones somebody else has to ride, or which ones don't even get to go. And from the client's perspective, obviously they want their trainer to be showing their horse. So by taking the cap off, that would open that up. Make it more challenging for the riders to try to manage more horses and probably not.
So once again, they're
Get a lot of sleep.
worrying about the level 4 riders
I knew you were
only.
gonna say this. I knew you were gonna say this. The
And
level
to
4
argue that
riders,
argument-
the top, 15, 25 riders, NRHA riders or whatever, they're
The other
talking
part of
about
that
catering
too
to
is that
them.
really limits the assistant trainers. When you think that Todd Bergen won it on Today's My Lucky Day when he was an assistant to Bob Avila.
yeah.
Avila has his picks, and number 4 pick obviously wasn't that bad when Bergen come out and won the thing. And then Fapani, working for Bergen, comes out on number 4 in the string. RR Star? Yeah, RR Star. Wins the Futurity. So it gives a lot of those apprentices and younger trainers a step up. From the trainer customer point of view on that, there just needs to be, I think, more talk. I think everybody wants to say their horse is going to the Futurity, and that's great. But if you're going to stick your horse with Fapani or Florida or, whoever, that's a risk you also take. If they change the rule,
So
who
you're
cares?
against the change?
I don't care. It
You
doesn't
don't care. It
matter.
doesn't matter.
If it's gonna help a few guys, and that's it. It doesn't matter. Will it help anything? I don't think so. It'll be the same. Perfect example. Sean had 3 at the Futurity. 1 had a bobble. He almost went down. He only brought 2 back. Now a couple people brought, what was it? Deary, Fapani. Did anybody else bring 3 back?
I can't remember already.
Maybe Schmersel. Would they get 4 back? Likely not. That's hard to say.
Man, that'd sure be a different finals, wouldn't it? If Fapani had 5 in it. There's only 30 in it. Fapani had 5. Florida had 5. That'd be pretty limited. That'd be really challenging to get shown.
Be challenging to get
You'd
shown.
be on every other horse.
And years ago, I forget if it was the Congress, there was a really bad story. A guy made the finals on 3 horses and didn't even tell his customer. He didn't want to ride the 3rd horse. He figured his first 2 had a shot at winning. I'm not going to say who it is. And the owner's sitting in the stands waiting for his horse to come in, and they announce it as a scratch. And he didn't even tell his customer.
Oh my gosh.
So, I think the biggest thing that this comes down to is just talking to the customers and saying what's best for the horse, what's best for everybody. We've seen it lots of times where an assistant makes more money in the levels 1, 2, and 3s than the level 4 rider because the 4 is just that more competitive. Talking to your customer, and I think that's the biggest thing. But if they change the rules, I don't know. I don't think it really matters.
All right.
Live by the rules, don't worry about it.
Gail is saying, I watched the Futurity with several friends. Was it our imagination, or did several horses have their tails altered so they lie flat? What do you think of that practice? On a lighter note, we didn't care for white wraps on buckskins. See, this is great. Watching with friends, you get to just realize a lot of things, like your favorite outfits, favorite shirt and pad combinations.
Oh, the important things.
All the important things. I love it, Gail. Was it Gail's imagination about altering tails?
No.
And what do you think about that practice?
NRHA made a rule, they can't enforce it.
NRHA made what rule?
You can't alter tails.
But they don't enforce it.
Well, you can enforce it.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate part. Everybody can say, I think that thing's done. But if you have an illegal bit, you hold it in your hand and you say it's done. If you have an altered tail, you can't prove it. It lays flat, we call it laying dead is the expression we use. Perfect example, I showed a gelding a few years ago who just naturally was that way.
Just tucked it right in.
Yeah, he laid it flat. Multiple people asked me, what I had done to him. Would they have called me on it? Likely, if they could, but there's no way of proving it. I used to work for a gentleman when I was a teenager. He wouldn't show one if they weren't done. So I'm not going to say I've never, rode one done. Anybody that knows me, I don't believe in it, but I mean, I've done, I've rode them. I don't know how they're going to get away from it. I don't know how they're going to enforce it, unfortunately. When you see those things running around, they're trying to poop and they can't even raise their tail, or they spin and they stop and the thing keeps flopping. They're done. I don't know if there's I guess this isn't the Sunday afternoon CBS special talk, but
What?
well, it's not all roses and whatever.
No,
it is what
it's
it is,
not.
and that's
It is
just
what it
not the
is. You're
Futurity.
not
That's
making it
every
up.
horse show.
Yeah, you're
and
not making it up, Gail. That definitely is a thing. It's definitely something that should be discussed, I think.
I've seen the bad sides of it with horses. I've seen the ones
Yeah.
that abscess, and anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about is they just simply, or I shouldn't say just simply, they inject alcohol at the base of the tail. The horse can't swish his tail.
Paralyzes the tail. Yeah.
If they, let's say they go through in the lead change and they move that hip over and that horse flicks his tail a little bit, the judge says, well, there's a little resistance there when that tail is laid flat. It is what it is.
Or some horses, just when they run, they like to just move their tail a whole bunch.
Or
So they
hold it
just
even up a little bit.
Hold it up.
Just doesn't look as pretty.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and everybody's talked about this. How do they enforce it? And they can't. It's just because if you call somebody's tail and it's just what we call a good-tailed horse, and it wasn't done, then you're in trouble.
Lacey's into it tonight. She says, you guys are awesome, making space for
That's
these
just not
important
tonight.
conversations.
She just knows I am.
No. Oh, okay, whatever. I'm going to leave that alone. Barbara Sanders saying Matt Mill's horses always look super broke. Did he have
Did he
one
have
in the
anything in the
finals?
finals?
I don't think he did.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think he did.
And not to take away from that,
Elise-
whoever wrote that, and not to take away from it. I just
Yeah.
didn't know that he had one there.
Yeah, I don't think we saw him show in the finals. Elise is saying she agrees with Huss. That was a
Oh, yeah,
very
such a
nice
nice horse.
horse. Yeah. And Joy said it was a great bunch of healthy looking horses and great, not crazy rides. Yeah.
And nobody got out there. And
Nobody got out of control. Hi, Chuck and Shirley. Chuck and Shirley, I can't remember where they are, but Shirley just had throat surgery. Nancy's saying, is that Rip beside you, Lindsay? Forget it. Rip wouldn't get his nails done.
I'm tougher than
Rip
Rip. I
wouldn't
will
teach a
gladly let
child-
my daughters do my.
Rip wouldn't treat a child the way that Rip's been treating a child with me around either, Nancy. Man, those last couple episodes have been bad. Yeah, Barbara's watching us from Texas. So, Barbara, can you see your breath? Can you see your breath?
I'll be in Texas in 2 weeks. It better be warmer.
Hi, Rose. Hi, Kim. Okay, awesome. So if anybody has any questions, you can leave them for us right now. If I don't get to them live, then I'll get to them after the fact. Otherwise, I think we are getting to the end of our conversation. Elise enjoys the conversation and chats about it later. That's good. I like that. We always like hearing from you guys when you reach out to us and let us know that you've been talking about it, or that our conversation inspired something, or yeah, we love that. I love getting the text messages and the Facebook messages and the emails and stuff the day after where you guys have been listening or thinking about it or had more to contribute. I think that's always cool.
One thing when we talk about the Futurity before we go,
Oh, you got more to add here.
and everybody wonder, why is it so important, the Futurity and whatever. I think some neat things to look at is, was this the first year for the Infernos or the second? So Inferno 66 is a young sire
Yeah.
anyway. His first
Yeah.
or second year. One of his goes out and wins the non-pro huge. That was a huge run for the lady. Comes out and then has the second place horse in the Open. So for a junior sire,
Yeah.
and then Sally saying about Deary's horse on the in like Flynn horse.
Yeah.
Again, there's first year sire. So that's so important when we look at what we're going to breed when those junior sires are out there and they're really nailing it on that first fall crop. that's a huge business for them, where it proves that that first year is a big thing. When any of them junior sires come out in that first full crop or that second full crop, kind of lands flat and doesn't really perform, boy, the amount of people willing to breed another year. The futurities are so watched.
As big as they are.
You know, which studs are producing, which ones have the look, which ones, so I mean, in like Flynn, you know, junior sire, they put a lot of promoting him, when he was there. Same with Inferno. You know, hard to deny, they knocked it out of the park this year. Last year it was, the horse of Humphreys, what was it, Don't Stop Shooting? No. Anyways, the horse died this year.
Oh, yeah, right.
You know, but every year there's like a young sire, and that's why the futurities get to be so important. Everybody wants to see what they're going to breed to. You know, who's the new hot trainer and who's the new hot junior sire, and that's what keeps the industry going. What's new? What's next? What's going to be the next big talk?
Well, thanks for being here with us tonight. We're frozen solid, so we're gonna head in. Or I'm frozen solid. Somebody has the heater right beside them.
I asked you if you
Not
wanted the
me.
heater. You said no.
No, I have to be on this side to operate all the stuff.
I can handle the tech stuff.
Oh, that's right. You're an expert now. I forgot. Thanks for being here with us, guys. If you have more questions, then definitely add them here in the comments. If you have a topic or a subject that you want for us to address, a question, you can send it to us at hazekofalph@gmail.com. Things we have coming up. We do have another challenge coming up. We're going to do another Cut the Chaos challenge right in the beginning of the new year. So if you are getting caught up with Christmas holiday things, maybe you have a social life,
After Christmas,
Good
is it
for
going
you.
to be cut the chaos or cut the calories?
Well, I'm going to let somebody else do the cut the calories challenge. I'm going to do cut the chaos and get everything kind of lined up for your goals with your horse for 2022. So that's going to be really fun. Last time we did it was really fun. So that will open up soon, and Momentum is opening again in the new year. So if anybody is looking for some further guidance, some more riding instruction, riding plans, videos. We had one that came out last week about counter canter exercises, and we're going to keep following up with that for a couple weeks. We have a couple more counter canter videos and riding plans and audio lessons coming. That will all be available and open to new members the beginning of January, just for a short time. Kind of open up the doors, bring some new people in, close them down, focus on serving members and creating great content, and that's how it works. Okay, Susan says thanks for the informative chat. Thanks for being here, Susan, and we will catch up with you guys next week. Have a good